Hello. Today I'm going to talk briefly about one one interesting topic. The topic which I found interesting recently. Uh, it's the topic which came to my mind uh, after recording a film, latest film about the difference between a philosopher and a scientist. This topic came to my mind because um when I uh, well, it's not exactly the latest. It's one of the latest films, as I think it's the second latest film I've recorded. Um, and I said something like that this film was about inquisitiveness, which I found one of the most vital traits a good philosopher should have to possess, and a curiosity which I found one of the most vital traits in which should be possessed by a scientist. So when we talk about these traits, I would justify. Uh, I have, as I remember, if I remember it properly, I justified uh, that these two traits are main traits among or should be the main traits possessed by those. Like I justified it like in a way that I could um, um, characterize this way, that like uh, mm, in inquisitiveness isn't really correlated with knowledge, and in sciences it's the way to some scientific discoveries is uh, being curious and being methodological, and by curious um, by the impulse of curiosity, and a way to mm, a way to um, a way to things, we just try to answer the question about how it works, how the world, uh, what are the principles, the rules of the world, and how it all works together. And there is no such simple question in philosophy, because uh, philosophy is something a deeper, a more deeply layered. So the accent is to be inquisitive. So how science than works. Science from early modern times, from late Renaissance, is really cumulative mm, activity, cumulative institution, is a cumulative uh, thing which progresses through the time in which it shows to us. So there is the knowledge in science, the knowledge which we can describe as characterize as some kind of statements, theories, methods which can be taught to younger generations, by which younger generations of students and scholars can by which the knowledge which is a condition to start a new way to produce new knowledge. There is no such thing in philosophy, therefore we cannot teach philosophy in schools in a way that is taught in a way that the science is taught, like the biology, or especially in physics, math, which has no such shifts like can describe shifts of paradigms in which the old paradigms starts to be not as useful in explanation of the world as the newest ones. So the mathematics is an ideal example of this science which can be taught in school, even if it's boring. It may be boring, it may be tiring, but it's good to be simplified to just be brought to schools to the children which can use this knowledge in other higher levels of education. In physics, biology, etc., also chemistry, also. Okay. There is a message and I had to I had to read this message. Back again to my to what I'm saying now. What have I said? In biology, chemistry, physics, geography, and etc., some subjects which appear in school they, despite despite that their progress isn't such well, it's not, it isn't, it sounds not so pretty as in mathematics. It also can be taught in schools in simplified way, as a knowledge which every student ought to know. Yeah. And so my thesis, as I said, is or maybe I haven't said it. I can't remember if I've said it in such clarified way, but my thesis is there is a knowledge in sciences which which I've defined in such way, and there isn't such knowledge in philosophy. And philosophy is the worst example of a subject which cumulative subject which could be simplified and taught in school. Of course, philosophy is simplified, and when someone talks about philosophy, an expert scholar or an author of some prominent author, yeah, or some prominent expert talks about his achievements to other scholars. When scholars talk about philosophy to students, and when some teachers in schools talk about philosophy to their pupils, of course, it's there must be a system, a method to talk like it was taught in some sciences, simplified, etc. But there are no principles, basic principles, and there is no such thing like it's everything you have to know to be a good philosopher, because there can be some philosophers who just there are some philosophers who just don't really they don't care about what have been said, like late Wittgenstein, who Wittgenstein not only late, but Wittgenstein as a philosopher in every his work, or in some way Husserl, who just says back to things, not to philosophers, or don't and Wittgenstein, who says Vienna Circle, yeah, in which the main thesis is metaphysics is a nonsense. So why we should just read Aristotle, yeah, or Plato? So there is no such thing in mathematics. You can all, of course, you don't have to read Euclid's mm, his original work, but you must know his achievements. You must just know the subject which was his problem. You 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 don't have to know the subject which was a problem of Plato. Well, if you are an average person who just like philosophy, you ought to know this subject, and the uh, an analogical function to knowledge is I don't know if I know this word properly, erudition. Mm, a knowledge of books and a knowledge of what X and Z and A and B have said in philosophy. So if you are an average person who just likes philosophy, you ought to know Plato, Aristotle, Saint Thomas Aquinas, Descartes, Kant, Hegel, Wittgenstein, Heidegger, Husserl, etc. But it's not that like you know them, and it's a knowledge which it's a kind of set of statements which are true, and you know that are true, and no, there are no true statements, no valid statements, but it can be a lot of true statement, a lot of truth in philosophy, but there are no statements which validity is confirmed among philosophers' society. Well, and another analogical to knowledge. Well, there are some skills, a lot of skills, a lot of methods in sciences, but there is no codified method. Codified method, like it's not codified knowledge. It's not strictly codified method of thinking, and not codified skills. And this the only logic is such a skill, but there is no really one do not have to know advanced logic, just some basics to be a philosopher. Well, it's really controversial what I say, but I see philosophy as something really broad, and well, there are really many prominent philosophers who probably doesn't know really advanced logic, modern logic, because it's well, but I go back to what I've said. There are really little skills, and what you when you start to do philosophy, make some philosophy, and there are two things to why you do this. The answer is to, there are a lot of answers, but you will gain two things: a knowledge of what you will become erudite, and the second thing is you will have some skills of better thinking. So there is no such thing like knowledge and methods how you do the science, but there is still some things you ought to know, and there is still some skills you ought to possess. Well, as you see, my English gets better and better as you hear. Slowly, I slowly progress. I only I recently haven't really exercises in this subject. I haven't broadened my vocabulary. I sometimes read something in English or watch some videos, and I also talk to you. I hope you have understood what I've said, and I hope you've understood my main ideas. Despite, well, doesn't matter if you agree or doesn't agree. Just have to have your own opinion really justified, and well, the most important is to have the opinion to discuss. Thank you for watching, and see you later.